What is up? It's been a while and let's kick straight away. These are 9 different tactics you can use right now to reduce your SaaS churn rate by 30%. Why can I say this? We built over 54 different SaaS apps, including our own product, SmartWriter, that has gone through the battles and tests to ensure that we reduce our SaaS and increase our overall lifetime value of our customers, make sure our users are happy. So let's kick off in 3, 2, 1 with the first one. The first one I want to talk to you about is basically rewarding investment. Now, investment is a very important part in a customer's journey, where they take time and investment and energy to use your product as well as dive into the application and utility of your product. What you want to do is you want to reward your customer with the investment they make into your application. That investment reward can basically be through extended discounts, coupons, invitations, and overall acknowledgement of the worth that they've given to your product. Airbnb actually did this, where they basically had the best renters come to take part in their IPO, and they had other companies do this as well. I believe Poshmark did that too, with the best sellers actually getting access to the IPO. Now, you don't need to go all the way to the IPO level, but if you're coming in a SaaS level, you can basically reward them with discounted rewards, basically giving them 3 months free after crossing a 1-year period. Or if they've done a certain number of tasks within their application, your product, you want to reward them with some sort of incentive that lets them stay further and lets them feel acknowledged that they're being part of your product. This also gives them a reason to push towards that incentive that they might get down the road. Now, the second one I talk to you about is showing updates. It's incredible how many people completely miss out on the most obvious but easiest way to keep your customers coming back to your product. Now, here's the general rule that I've learned. People don't listen. You need to ensure that your customers actually are fed the same information in multiple formats, an omni-channel update strategy, which is an email, in-app notification, maybe even a push notification if necessary. You don't need to do this all together because that might feel overwhelming, but you can drip it. This way your customers are continuously, reiteratively fed that, hey, our product is improved. This does 2 things. It shows them that since they've come to the app last, you've actually done some updates. You've listened to their feedback. You've implemented their thought process and their views. This helps them feel like their voice is being heard. And whenever someone's voice is heard, it's just automatically where they feel they have some sort of ownership towards you, right? So this is a great way for you to show your customers that you care and hence make them stay with your product. So that layer of feedback is very visual. Show your customers that you're actually listening to them and getting their feedback implemented into your product. Also, it's a great feeling because I paid $20 last month. I'm paying $20 this month. I'm going to pay $20 next month. For the same amount that I'm paying every month, I'm still getting new updates. So my investment stays the same, but my ROI is increased. So that's one of the reasons why you want to show your customers whenever you make an update, make them feel proud that their feedback has been implemented. One thing that people have completely missed out, and it falls under the layer of community, is basically discussions boards. You can use apps like Frill that essentially help you create a discussion board across a different domain on all the ideas that people can vote on. What is a good idea that wants to get feedback? So sometimes you might just listen to one customer and implement it, and that is not a good idea. Trust me, I've done that. It's not a good idea. Listen to a cohort of your customers, your perfect customers, the customers that you want and believe are the best audience for you to sell your product to and solve a problem for. And you can get that by an upvoting system. Very simple. Throw a few ideas, get your customers to go into the product, or even your users to go into that particular discussion board and throw in their own ideas. Incentivize them if you want. And then the best idea, the most upvoted features are the ones that end up getting traffic, are the ones that end up getting your attention. It's a great way to then drive community, drive engagement, and also hear straight from the people who you're solving a problem for, give you feedback on what they want solved at the highest priority. The fourth one I want to mention is basically deepening their integrations. What you need to do is make sure that when they use your product, they're embedded their entire ecosystem into your product, which makes it harder for them to leave. This is a classic strategy used by companies like Zapier or other firms, where they ensure that you offer higher and higher and deeper integrations into their already existing ecosystem. And there's assets and information being shared across the internet to your centralized product. So if you were to leave, it's not just you leaving your product, your customer leaving your product, but they're going to end up finding a gap or a hole with all the other apps that have been integrated with your singular tool. So this is a great way for them to stay, as well as incentivize them to keep staying on to your product. The fifth one I want to talk about is an interesting one. Sometimes you might have a new product, a new concept that you've introduced with your SaaS application e-commerce business, and your customers might actually leave well before they actually experience the aha moment, causing churn for you. So how do you drive for that? How do you force or push a customer to experience that aha moment, other than just obviously good user experience? Is you can reward utility. What I mean by rewarding utility is you want to incentivize your customers all the way from the part where they sign up, through the funnel they go through, to the point where they understand that aha moment of your product. Your aha moment might be a screen recording software that makes it easy to add subtitles. Now the screen recording part, the sign up part, and all that other part of the product might be almost a resistance barriers until the point the subtitles come on. So what you can do is, if you see your customers struggling to go through that funnel, you can move the aha moment further ahead, or if that's hard for you to do just to stay consistent with the user experience, you can reward them just to get to the subtitles. All you can say is, hey, you've signed up for free, it's a free trial, but just for creating your first subtitle, we will give you, creating your first subtitle within the first week or first 2 days, we will give you XYZ for free, right? So you're incentivizing them to stay on top and get to that aha moment. So helping them sort of go over that resistance barriers of the things that are necessary for your customer to experience that aha moment. The sixth point is a point that people miss out for some reason, but it's the most obvious one of them all, is offer referrals to your customers. And what I mean by that is, your customers, the best ones that you think are the best audiences, get them part of a referral scheme, because word of mouth is the easiest way to increase your audience's, your customers' lifetime value. Longevity needs to be rewarded. You want to go ahead and ensure that your customers actually are valued for the time that they've spent into your application. Number 7 is something you can implement just today with your audiences. It comes under the concept of exclusivity. People love rare things. This is 1 of 100, 1 of 200, 3 of 400. People want to make sure they're part of an exclusive club. This is why brands exist, status codes exist, and so on and so forth. By creating an exclusive club for your top tier customers, it encourages your audiences to work towards becoming part of that. A common example, or one that I like to use the most, is ClickFunnels, how they have the 2 comma club and 3 comma club. You almost want to aspire to be part of that, and you're willing to spend the $99 a month that they offer for their base product, or even more, until you achieve that 2 comma or 3 comma tier, because it becomes a status structure, right? You can do the same thing with your app itself, where you have your power users who do a certain number of tasks or credits that are spent or whatever used, are part of this elite group. And so you're almost forcing your customers, you're encouraging, forcing the wrong word, you're encouraging your customers to do certain tasks and actions, maybe stay a certain amount of time, to be part of that elite group where you're sharing extra value. The customers there are high fidelity or high value customers who can share insights to other customers who make it into that segment. It becomes a powerhouse. Shopify does this with their best customers as well, where the best Shopify users are part of this unique group of people who then share insights with other great users. So you almost want to thrive to make it to that particular level in a Shopify ecosphere. So you can try to do that as well with your own product. Loss aversion. People will do more to avoid pain than they will to gain pleasure. One of the easiest ways for you to increase your lifetime value, reduce churn, is implementing the concept of loss aversion. If your product is investment driven, whether you're creating forms, you have a credit rollover system, or it's a place where people create documents or just assets within your product, you can create loss aversion by simply doing one of 2 things, right? In a situation where they're going to leave the product, you can make it obvious to them, say, look, you've actually invested and created all these assets within an application. You're going to delete 959,000 files. You shouldn't delete those files just by clicking unsubscribe. This is a way for people to be like, whoa, I've invested so much, I don't want to lose it. A lot of apps do this. Shopify does this greatly as well, where you've created and spent time creating an entire website, maybe hours and hours, and they tell you, you sure you want to disconnect and lose everything that you've created? Why don't you actually go ahead and maybe hibernate your account? That's a good way for you to stay on. While this is a temporary bandage solution, because if they're going to leave, they're going to leave regardless of the incentivization you offer, is a good way to keep them on board. Another option is, if you run a credit-based system, offer rollover credits, because if your credits reset at the end of each month, it's the same thing that they're getting each month. However, if they don't use the app for 1 month, they use the next month, by the time they want to unsubscribe, they've coupled up almost 6,000, 7,000 credits. At that time, leaving the application is significantly more harder if they just had the nominal 1 month, which was maybe 100 credits, right? So by offering rollovers, while that might be more expensive for you in the short term, it will be valuable for you in the long term. And the last one, which is the best one I think you can implement the easiest way, is ensuring you create tutorials and explanation videos that help your customer embed your product into their lifecycle. Embedding your product into their lifecycle is extremely important, because if they embed your product into their lifecycle, it's harder for them to leave it, because they will create habits around their lifecycle using your product. And habits are extremely hard for people to get rid of. So when you create an ecosystem like Notion, right? Notion does this really well, Zapier does this really well, Shopify does this really well. A lot of apps do this really well, where they create incredible and amazing explanatory videos and tutorials to ensure that when you use a product, it's easy for you to embed it into your life cycle. It makes it harder for me to leave. For example, when I use Notion right now, it's embedded into my overall life cycle. I use it for documentation, roadmaps, workflows, whatever it is. And it's hard for me to leave Notion right now because it's so embedded into the way I build and grow my business. And I've done that through all the tutorials, community videos, and everything else I've mentioned in this video that they've used to ensure that I'm embedded into their ecosystem. I have a high loss aversion as well as because of the fact that I stay because of all the things I've now invested into the product. So there you go. These are the 9 tips that you can implement today. I'm pretty confident to help you reduce your churn rate by 30%. Stick around, and if you really like this video, I would love a like and subscribe because it's going to help the channel grow. It's going to help spread the message and help other people reduce their churn rate. Thank you, and I'll see you soon again.